The way to protect your business before probate, obviously you have to have your proper business entity. You need to run it separately, not as what's called an alter ego, meaning that you run the finances of the business as if it's just you as a sole proprietorship. So the business entity itself, whether it's a corporation, limited liability company, partnership, limited partnership, those type of entities in the state of Texas, or family limited trust, different things like that. So you protect your business that way and you run it properly. You get proper tax advice, you get proper legal advice. Please, please, please get proper legal advice if you are running a business. Have a lawyer look at all your contracts and those things, because it's much more expensive to fix a problem than it is to prevent one. And then you have a good comprehensive estate plan in which plans for what happens to your business if something happens to you. Either death or divorce are the two big ones that you need to make sure that your business is protected if you're going to go through that stuff. You're going to go through at least one of those. About half the people in the United States get married, half of those people get divorced. So 1 in 4 business owners statistically is going to be facing a divorce. But all business owners eventually are going to pass away or not be part of their business anymore. And either the business is going to go out of business or the business is going to continue. You want to make sure that you plan it properly so that the business does continue and that it will be protected after you pass away, and that your legacy can remain for as long as possible and bless the world with the good things that your business does and bless your family. A couple of strategies that you can use for transfer of business ownership is just have a proper estate plan in place to where upon your death, your business has a natural succession plan. You need to determine who's going to take care of it, who's going to run it, and then who's going to own it. So having a will and perhaps putting the business interest into a trust, or having that planned out, you've got to basically take care of that in advance. It's one of the important things, and it's also the number one thing that's procrastinated or overlooked. And the problem that we have with life and death is you never know when it's going to happen. And so most of the time it catches you off guard and by surprise. So you want to take care of that. As you know, when you're setting up a business, you should be thinking about what happens to you if that, when you pass away. Have life insurance to cover for those things if necessary. You can have a key man insurance policy that actually pays the business itself if you lose any of a particular member of the staff or team. For example, at our law firm, Daniel Bomer, who works with me, he and I went to law school together. He's the managing attorney of 2 of the departments of the firm. He is the closest thing. I mean, he's basically a brother to me. I consider him to be a partner, even though technically on paper I own the entire firm. But I have made sure that Daniel, if something happens to me, Daniel runs the firm. It keeps going. He takes care of all of that stuff. And if something happens to him, we actually have an insurance policy that pays to the firm, because it's going to be really expensive for us to replace him. And also, we're not going to be in any kind of condition. We're going to have to bring in other people that we're going to have to pay and solve these things. And it's going to be a difficult process. So we've got insurance to have funding for that, because we got to make sure that if something happens to me, something happens to Daniel, something happens to any of our key members of our staff, that our firm and our business will continue without any noticeable interruption. I mean, maybe the funeral, we're not going to work that day and things like that. But otherwise, all of our clients, all of our cases, all of the things that we're doing and protecting, the firm is going to outlive us. That's the type of thing that you want to build into your business so that it can survive you. Your legacy continues. Your family keeps getting the benefit of those things. All that requires planning in advance. So tax implications for business assets. When you inherit something, you actually get a stepped up basis based on the value at the time of death. So it's important that you plan. So let's say Grandpa for $2,900 bought 1,000 acres in Texas that now leases that to the Tesla factory, for example. I don't know if Elon Musk bought that land or is leasing it or whatever, but their basis is $2,900, and now it's worth $290 million, for example. Well, if they were to sell that while the person's alive, they got to pay taxes, capital gains taxes, income taxes, all, and it's a tremendous tax burden, as opposed to if you wait and and when someone inherits that, their basis is stepped up to the fair market value at the time of the death. You can have major tax advantages, and so you want to plan that accordingly, and be taking those things into consideration. And through the probate process, we take a look at how those assets are going to be distributed and what things we need to do in the way that we distribute it or hold it so that we can avoid those taxes if possible. Now, we're not tax attorneys. We don't give tax advice. You would need to also hire a tax attorney for those specific items. That's one of the other type of professionals that we bring in as part of the probate. If you're facing that and looking at any type of probate, go to smoothprobate.com. If you want to try and make the probate even smoother, go to healthyestateplan.com prior to that and make sure you get a good, comprehensive, healthy estate plan in place for you. How do you create a good succession plan? Well, you got to think about what it is that you own now, and you really want to keep things into 5 years. You know how when you had a job interview and they go, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You really need to think about that. You need to figure out where you're going to be in 5 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And you really need to reevaluate your estate plan every 5 years to make sure, because things change. People can go from having $2 million to having $10 million within the course of a 5-year period. When you start hitting at the 10 million amount, you start needing tax planning in order to eliminate your death taxes, the estate taxing for when you pass away, because you want your stuff to go to your kids. You don't want your stuff to go to the government. You paid income taxes when you earn the money. You pay sales tax when you spend the money. Everything, the assets that you bought, you're taxed and taxed, capital gains tax, all taxed your entire life. You don't want to have to pay taxes even when you die, and even to give the money that you already earned, that's your money, to your kids. To have a good succession plan, you think about those things. You make sure your business, if you have one, all that's taken care of. You make sure that your children are, you found people, had some conversations with them, and you need like 5 or 10 people about who's going to take care of your kids, because you'd be surprised, people that are willing to do it now, 2-3 years, they have another child or two, their circumstances change, they have financial situations change, drugs or alcohol could get in the way, and now all of a sudden they're not the right people to take care of the kids. But you need to figure out who's going to take care of your kids. You also need to figure out who and how your pets are going to be taken care of. Are you leaving enough money for somebody to properly take care of your pet in the standard that you're used to? My wife takes probably better care of our dogs than she does of me. And, the way that she feeds them, she has this extensive list. That's all part of our plan, because she wants to make sure that they're well taken care of. And, a lot of people have horses, different animals that require high level of specialized care. A good estate plan is going to pass that information on and make sure that they're financially able to take care of those animals in the standard that you're used to, and that you've also chosen the people that you want. For example, do you go to homeopathic natural medicine first before you'll go to pharmaceuticals? Are there different healthy things that you want? And, for example, my wife, she takes our dogs to the vet to diagnose a problem. Then she tries natural remedies, because she's actually in a doctorate program about natural remedies. So she sometimes needs assistance with making sure the diagnosis is like, what is this that we have? And then she'll try the natural remedy. By the way, usually those natural remedies, at least for our dogs, have worked really well. And our dogs have a really long longevity, and it's great. But you got to specify those preferences for your kids and your pets, and even your spouse. What happens if your spouse is in some sort of elder care, they have dementia, things like that, and then you pass away, you've been the one taking care of them. A proper estate plan, you take care of and think about all those things in advance. So we're happy to help you with that at healthyestateplan.com.